Are you short order cooking for your child? You know, making a backup meal or a rescue snack before bedtime? If so, this video is for you. I'm talking about what it means to be a short order cook and how to stop being a short order cook because the consequences of short order cooking for kids are not good. Hey everyone, I'm Jill Castle. This is the Nourished Child YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me here. If it's your first time, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Give me a like and please enter your comments below the description. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. So today we are talking about short order cooking, what it is, what it can do to kids, and how to get over being a short order cook. So what is it that draws parents to being a short order cook? Well, sometimes when you have a picky eater in the family, that can oftentimes lead parents to becoming short order cooks. What is short order cooking? It's making an extra meal for the child that won't eat what you've decided is on the table for dinner. It can be making a separate meal, or it could be making a whole different bunch of food items to add to your current meal for your child. It could be just making sure your child has a hefty snack before bedtime on the regular to make sure he's getting enough nutrition. So short order cooking is oftentimes a trap parents fall into, especially when they have a picky eater. Picky eating, I've done a lot of videos on picky eating. You can just scroll through my channel and view some of those. But if you have a picky eater, which is generally a toddler between the ages of 2 and 6 years of age, that food neophobia or fear of food, resistance to try new food is very common in that age range. And this is a time of life when parents start to worry that their picky eater isn't eating enough or isn't eating the right kind of foods or might not be gaining weight and growing well. So they start to supplement what they are typically planning out for the family meal. They start to add foods or substitute items in that family meal plan to cater to their choosy child's food preferences. Now, what are the consequences of catering or short order cooking to a child? It is, generally speaking, leads children to have a very, very limited diet. So if you're serving the foods that you know your child will eat or only offering foods that your child prefers, we know that that can really shrink down the variety that we want children to get in their daily diet. So in other words, when we shrink that variety down, we only serve the same foods over and over again, we shrink down the nutrient content of the diet as well. We only are giving a certain array of nutrients, and we actually might be missing out on some really important nutrients that kids need to have in their diets to grow and be healthy. Research tells us that about 75% of parents give in to their children's food requests, and they don't necessarily feel good about it either. And in doing so, they are not only limiting their child's diet and their nutrient variety, but they're getting themselves backed into a corner where the child is starting to have more control over what's on the menu and what's bought in the grocery store than the parent is. And that's no good, because we know parents are adults and they have the knowledge to feed their children well and to pick out nutritious foods and make sure that those are in the diet. And toddlers and preschoolers and kindergartners and young elementary school age kids, they don't have the wisdom, knowledge, or experience to be able to make sure that they're getting a nutritious diet. They need the adults in their lives to do that for them. And the last thing about short order cooking is that it reinforces a child's picky eating. So if you're a parent with a picky eater, many of your thoughts during the day is how can I help my child overcome picky eating? How can we get out of this dynamic? And what parents don't realize is that being a short order cook actually reinforces picky eating. You're reinforcing those limited food preferences, and children who are picky eaters and are experiencing short order cooking are less likely to try new foods. We actually have research that tells us this. So again, children who experience short order cooking are less likely to try new foods and expand their diets. So I want to give you 3 tips for overcoming short order cooking and helping you feed your family a variety of foods, even your picky eater. So the first tip is to offer your child the familiar foods that you know he will eat. These are not necessarily his favorite foods. They are foods that he is familiar with and has eaten before. And you typically want to plan for 1 to 2 familiar foods in your main meal plan. So for example, if your child's a milk drinker, you might plan your dinner and make sure there's a jug of milk on the table. Or if your child likes bread or rolls, you might make sure that bread or rolls are on the table with dinner. The same goes for maybe your child likes corn on the cob or corn niblets, and you can include that in the meal plan because you know your child will eat it. So we want to make sure that we are exposing our kids to a variety of different foods, even if we're not sure they're going to eat them or like them. We still need to do the job of repeated exposure. But in doing that, we can always help our children feel more comfortable by offering also 1 to 2 familiar foods as part of the meal plan. The second tip is to offer meals family style. So family style meals I talked about in a video just a few weeks ago, and you can click on the card up here and go watch that. But family style meals basically means that you are laying out all the different food items for the meal on the table, and each individual is passing those items around and serving themselves the foods that they want in the amounts that they want. So what family style meals do for picky eaters is they allow that exposure without the pressure to eat it. And so it's a great way to make a family meal for the entire family, include those 1 or 2 familiar items on the table that I just mentioned, and give your child the autonomy to make decisions about what goes on his plate and how much of each food goes on his plate. So for example, a child might only put a very small spoonful of corn on his plate if he doesn't know if he really likes it. So that's okay. He's getting a small amount of food on his plate to be able to try it, and not getting presented with a full plate of food already fashioned by his parent and having to sit and look at foods that he's not familiar with, has never tasted before, and that's where all the drama starts. When you're doing family style meals, always make sure you're offering the 5 basic food groups. So a source of protein, a source of grains like pasta or rice or crackers, bread, a source of vegetables, a source of fruit, and a source of dairy or a non-dairy substitute if you're not having dairy in the family diet. So by offering these 5 different food groups, you're really nailing down the provision of a variety of different nutrients for your child. And if your child's not a big vegetable eater, having fruit on the table gives a lot of the same nutrients, and children are just traditionally more open to eating fruits. But you still want to supply the vegetables because you want to expose your child and give him the opportunity to try them on his own timing. And the last tip is to make sure that you close the kitchen between meals and snacks. So I'm a huge fan of structured meals and snacks. And that just basically means that you have set times for meals and set times for snacks. You have a set location, and that's where children are expected to show up for meals and snacks. In between those eating sessions, though, however, we want to close the kitchen. Not literally, but figuratively, meaning that the message that children are getting is that it's not time for a meal, it's not time for a snack, so the kitchen is closed. We're not in there looking for something to eat. We're not foraging through the cabinets. We are not ransacking the refrigerator. We are not in the kitchen because we're not having a scheduled eating session. So closing that kitchen allows your child to build up an appetite for meals and snacks. It keeps you in control of food and eating, and it allows your child to get more regulated with his appetite. So coming to the table hungry is a great thing. Eating, feeling satisfied, maybe full, and leaving the table and having a 3 to 4 hour window in between the next eating session allows your child to start to feel the sensations of hunger and starts to recognize the sensation of fullness or satisfaction. And these are important things for children to learn so that as they get older, they are able to regulate their own appetite. So that's it for short order cooking. I know that it can be a super frustrating place to be in, not to mention exhausting if you're there every night trying to make a separate meal for your child who won't eat what everybody else is eating. But there is a way out. I encourage you to try some of these tips, help yourself recover from being a short order cook, and help your child branch out and try new foods and expand his overall diet. If you liked this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week.